At 79 years old, I thought I had accepted my fate. For nearly 8 years, I had been living with a constant ache that seemed to grow stronger each month. It started in my shoulders, then spread to my lower back, and eventually settled into my hips like an unwelcome guest who refused to leave. The pain wasn't the sharp, screaming kind that sends you rushing to the hospital. It was the other kind, the persistent, grinding type that follows you from morning coffee to evening television. The kind that makes you hesitate before standing up, that makes you think twice before reaching for something on a high shelf. I remember telling my son Michael during one of our weekly phone calls, "I guess this is just what getting older means." He lived 3 states away, but I could hear the worry in his voice when he said, "Dad, you don't have to live like this," but I believed I did. I had tried the usual path: doctor visits, prescription medications, physical therapy sessions that left me more tired than relieved. I had drawers full of creams and bottles of pills that promised relief but delivered disappointment. Each failed attempt made me more resigned to the idea that pain was simply my new normal. Then something unexpected happened. It wasn't a dramatic moment or a sudden revelation. It was actually quite ordinary. A conversation with my neighbor Harold while we both checked our mailboxes on a Tuesday afternoon. Harold, who is 81 and still tends his own garden, noticed me moving slowly up my front steps. "You know," he said, "my grandfather used to make this drink with ginger and honey. He swore it kept his joints moving well into his 90s. That night, I found myself thinking about Harold's grandfather. Here was someone who had lived through times when pharmaceutical solutions weren't readily available, yet he had found ways to maintain his mobility and comfort. It made me wonder what simple solutions I might have overlooked in my search for complex cures. I started researching traditional remedies, not as a replacement for medical care, but as a complement to it. That's when I discovered something that would change my daily experience entirely. A simple preparation using ginger, a root I had been using in cooking for decades without realizing its potential for pain relief. Ginger, I learned, contains compounds called gingerols that have natural anti-inflammatory properties. Unlike synthetic medications that can sometimes cause stomach upset or other side effects, ginger works gently with your body's natural processes to reduce inflammation at its source. The science behind it is fascinating. Chronic inflammation is often the root cause of persistent pain, especially in older adults. Our bodies, after decades of use, can develop a kind of ongoing inflammatory response that affects our joints, muscles, and connective tissues. Ginger helps interrupt this cycle by blocking certain inflammatory pathways without suppressing our immune system's important functions. After reading numerous studies and testimonials, I decided to try a simple ginger preparation. I wasn't expecting miracles. I had been disappointed too many times before for that. But I was curious, and sometimes curiosity is the first step toward healing. Here's exactly what I did, and I want to share every detail because the preparation matters as much as the ingredients themselves. The simple ginger relief drink. Ingredients: 1 tablespoon of fresh ginger root, finely grated, 1 cup of filtered water, 1 tablespoon of raw honey, half a lemon, juiced, a small pinch of cayenne pepper. Preparation. Every morning, I would start by grating the fresh ginger. I found that fresh ginger worked much better than powdered. It seemed to have more potency and a cleaner taste. I would bring the water to a gentle boil in a small saucepan, then add the grated ginger and let it simmer for exactly 10 minutes. The key was not to boil it vigorously, but to let it simmer gently, allowing the ginger to release its beneficial compounds slowly. After 10 minutes, I would strain the liquid into my favorite mug, then add the honey while it was still warm so it would dissolve completely. Finally, I would add the fresh lemon juice, and if I was feeling brave that day, a tiny pinch of cayenne pepper. The first time I tasted it, I was surprised by how pleasant it was. The ginger provided warmth without being overwhelming, the honey added natural sweetness, and the lemon brightened the whole drink. The cayenne, when I used it, added just a hint of heat that seemed to amplify the warming effect throughout my body. I drank this every morning for the first week, not sure what to expect. I wasn't timing it or measuring my pain levels scientifically. I was simply paying attention to how I felt as I went about my daily activities. The first thing I noticed around day 4 was that I was sleeping better. The constant low-level discomfort that had been interrupting my sleep seemed to fade. I found myself waking up less frequently during the night, and when I did wake up, I could find a comfortable position more easily. By the end of the first week, I realized I had walked to my mailbox and back without that familiar stiffness in my hips. It wasn't that the pain had disappeared entirely, but it had softened enough that I could move more naturally. The second week brought even more encouraging changes. I found myself reaching for things without that automatic hesitation I had developed. I was bending down to pick up dropped items without having to plan the movement in advance. Small things, but they represented a significant improvement in my quality of life. Now, 3 months later, I still drink my ginger preparation every morning. It has become as much a part of my routine as brushing my teeth. But more than that, it has become a daily reminder that I am actively participating in my own well-being. I want to be clear about something important. This isn't a cure-all, and it certainly isn't a replacement for proper medical care. I still see my doctor regularly, and I still take the medications he prescribes. But this simple addition to my routine has made a meaningful difference in how I experience each day. What I think happened is this. By consistently providing my body with natural anti-inflammatory compounds, I helped reduce the background level of inflammation that was contributing to my pain. It's like turning down the volume on a radio that's been playing static. You don't eliminate all the noise, but you make it much more manageable. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity. These are ingredients most of us have in our kitchens or can easily find at any grocery store. There's no complex timing, no worry about dangerous interactions, and no expensive supplements to purchase month after month. But perhaps most importantly, preparing this drink each morning gave me back a sense of agency over my own health. Instead of feeling like a victim of aging, I felt like an active participant in my own care. That psychological shift was almost as valuable as the physical relief. If you're dealing with chronic pain or stiffness, I encourage you to speak with your healthcare provider about incorporating gentle, natural, anti-inflammatory approaches into your routine. Every person is different, and what works for one may not work for another. But in my experience, the combination of medical care and thoughtful self-care has been more effective than either approach alone. I also want to mention that the benefits seem to compound over time. The first week brought subtle changes, but by the fourth week, I was noticing improvements I hadn't expected. My energy levels were better, my mood was brighter, and I felt more like myself than I had in years. The key, I believe, is consistency. This isn't something you try for a few days and then abandon if you don't see immediate results. It's a gentle, ongoing support for your body's natural healing processes. Think of it as a daily investment in your comfort and mobility. For those of you who might be wondering about the taste, I can say that it grows on you. What seemed a bit unusual at first became something I actually looked forward to. The warmth, the gentle spice, the knowledge that I was doing something good for myself. All of this combined to make it a pleasant start to each day. I've shared this approach with several friends, and while not everyone has had the same dramatic results I experienced, most have noticed some improvement in their overall sense of well-being. Even if the pain relief is modest, the act of taking daily, purposeful action toward feeling better has value in itself. My friend George, who is 83 and lives 2 blocks away, started making this drink after I told him about my experience. He had been struggling with knee pain for years, especially when climbing stairs. After 6 weeks of drinking the ginger preparation daily, he called me with excitement in his voice. "I walked up 2 flights of stairs yesterday without stopping to rest," he said. "I can't remember the last time I could do that." Another friend, Robert, who had been dealing with morning stiffness that made it difficult to get out of bed, found that the drink helped him feel more mobile in the mornings. He told me, It's not that I wake up feeling 20 years younger, but I do wake up feeling like myself again. But I also want to share that not everyone has had dramatic results. My neighbor Frank tried it for a month and noticed only modest improvements. He still drinks it occasionally because he likes the taste and feels it helps his digestion, but his joint pain requires other approaches. This reminded me that our bodies are all different, and what works wonderfully for one person might work differently for another. That's why I always encourage people to approach natural remedies with realistic expectations. The goal isn't to find a magic solution that eliminates all discomfort. The goal is to find gentle, sustainable ways to support your body's natural ability to heal and maintain itself. What I've learned through this experience is that healing often happens in layers. The first layer might be physical, reduced inflammation, better sleep, improved mobility. But there are other layers too. There's the emotional layer of feeling empowered to take action on your own behalf. There's the psychological layer of hope returning after a long period of resignation. There's the spiritual layer of reconnecting with your body as an ally rather than an enemy. I remember one morning, about 6 weeks into my daily ginger routine, I was standing in my kitchen preparing the drink when I realized I was humming. I hadn't hummed while doing household tasks in years. It was such a small thing, but it told me something important. I was feeling joy again in simple daily activities. That's when I understood that this wasn't just about pain relief. It was about reclaiming my relationship with my own body, my own life, my own sense of possibility. When you live with chronic pain for years, you unconsciously start to shrink your world. You stop planning activities because you're not sure how you'll feel. You stop looking forward to things because you're afraid pain will interfere. This simple daily practice gave me back my sense of agency. Every morning, as I grated the ginger and waited for the water to simmer, I was actively choosing to care for myself. I was participating in my own healing, rather than just passively receiving treatments. I also learned the importance of the ritual itself. The 10 minutes I spent each morning preparing and drinking this mixture became a form of meditation. It was quiet time when I could set my intentions for the day, when I could appreciate the simple pleasure of warmth and flavor, when I could acknowledge my body's needs with kindness rather than frustration. The aromatherapy aspect was unexpectedly beneficial too. The scent of fresh ginger steaming in the morning became associated with comfort and self-care. Just smelling it would trigger a sense of calm and well-being that lasted throughout the day. I want to share some practical tips I learned through trial and error. First, the quality of the ginger matters. Fresh ginger that's firm and has a strong scent works much better than ginger that's been sitting in the refrigerator for weeks. I learned to buy smaller pieces more frequently rather than storing large amounts. Second, the temperature matters too. I found that drinking it warm, but not hot, was most comfortable and seemed to be absorbed better by my system. If it was too hot, it was harsh on my stomach. If it was too cool, it didn't have the same soothing effect. Third, timing made a difference. I experimented with drinking it at different times of day and found that first thing in the morning worked best for me. It seemed to set a positive tone for the entire day and helped prevent stiffness from building up. I also discovered that staying hydrated throughout the day enhanced the benefits. The ginger preparation seemed to work better when I was drinking plenty of water overall. This makes sense because inflammation is often worse when we're dehydrated. Another important discovery was that gentle movement after drinking the ginger preparation amplified its effects. I started taking a short walk around my neighborhood about 30 minutes after finishing my morning drink. The combination of the anti-inflammatory effects of the ginger and the gentle movement seemed to work synergistically. I want to address something that might concern some of you. It's the interaction with medications. I was initially worried about how ginger might interact with my blood pressure medication and the occasional anti-inflammatory I take for severe pain days. I discussed this thoroughly with my doctor, who assured me that the amount of ginger I was consuming was well within safe limits. However, he emphasized that everyone's situation is different, and it's always important to have these conversations with your healthcare provider. This experience also taught me to pay attention to my body's signals in a new way. I started noticing not just when I was in pain, but when I was feeling good. I began to appreciate the absence of pain as much as I had previously focused on its presence. This shift in attention was surprisingly powerful. I learned to celebrate small victories. The first time I got out of bed without that familiar stiffness, I actually said out loud, "Thank you, body." The first time I reached for something on a high shelf without hesitation, I paused to appreciate the moment. These small acknowledgments seemed to reinforce the positive changes that were happening. The social aspect of sharing this discovery has been wonderful too. I've had more meaningful conversations with friends about health and aging in the past few months than I had in years. We've moved beyond just complaining about our aches and pains to sharing strategies and supporting each other's wellness journeys. My relationship with my own aging process has changed as well. Instead of seeing each new ache or limitation as evidence that I'm falling apart, I now see them as information that can guide me toward better self-care. Instead of feeling defeated by the changes in my body, I feel curious about what might help. This doesn't mean I'm in denial about the realities of aging. I still have difficult days. I still deal with pain sometimes. I still have limitations that I didn't have 20 years ago. But I now have a sense of partnership with my body rather than feeling like we're adversaries. I want to emphasize again that this approach works best as part of a comprehensive wellness strategy. Along with my daily ginger drink, I've made other changes that support my overall health. I've improved my sleep habits, going to bed earlier and creating a more restful environment. I've adjusted my diet to include more anti-inflammatory foods like leafy greens, berries, and fatty fish. I've incorporated gentle stretching into my daily routine, but perhaps most importantly, I've changed my mindset about what's possible at my age. I no longer automatically assume that discomfort is just something I have to accept. I've become an active participant in my own wellness rather than a passive recipient of age-related changes. Remember, at our age, small improvements can make a big difference in our quality of life. We're not necessarily looking to run marathons or climb mountains. We're looking to move comfortably through our days, to sleep well at night, and to maintain our independence and dignity as we age. This simple ginger preparation has helped me do exactly that. It's given me back some of the ease of movement I thought I had lost forever. More than that, it's reminded me that there are still things I can do, still ways I can influence how I feel, still reasons to be hopeful about the days ahead. If you decide to try this approach, I encourage you to give it at least a month to see how your body responds. Keep a simple journal of how you feel each day. Not obsessively, but just noting any changes you observe. Sometimes the improvements are so gradual that we don't notice them unless we're paying attention. Start with realistic expectations. Don't expect overnight miracles, but do stay open to the possibility of meaningful change. Notice not just whether your pain decreases, but whether your sleep improves, your energy increases, or your mood brightens. Healing often happens in unexpected ways. And please share your experiences with others. We have so much wisdom to offer each other, so many simple solutions that have been overlooked in our search for complex cures. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Before I close, I want to leave you with this thought. Taking care of ourselves isn't selfish or indulgent. It's necessary. When we feel better, we're better able to care for others, to contribute to our communities, to enjoy the precious time we have. Every small step you take toward better health is a gift to yourself and to everyone who cares about you. Thank you for joining me on Elderly Wellness Tips. Remember, every small step toward better health is a victory worth celebrating. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you tried natural remedies for pain relief? What has worked for you? What questions do you have about this approach? Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep looking for those simple joys that make each day a little brighter. Don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Wellness Tips for more natural approaches to healthy aging. Share this video with someone who might benefit from these simple, gentle solutions to common aging challenges. Together, we can age with grace, dignity, and hope.